In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone. Welcome to the tech zone. We on our tech flow, and there's still a global market in case you didn't know. So many guests, we not trying to impress. Just wanna pass on the info. You could do the rest. See, there's no escaping tech. It's part of our lives. Keep every individual connected worldwide. But all this innovation is more than entertainment. It's people like you paving a new way every day. So let your imagination run wild with all the things that you dream about. Cause the tech zone is on now with Paul Amadeus Lane.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Tech Zone. What's going on? It's me, Paul Amadeus Lane. So happy to have you on the show today. No doubt, if you're like me, you're using more data, sending more emails than ever before. But with that comes a lot of risk to our privacy, to our security, and data breaches. I don't know if you've been following the news here lately when it comes to technology, but there's been a lot of breaches out there. There have been breaches of some of the video conferencing software that we use, some of the Teams things that we use. I'm trying to be nice here, but our data, our privacy is very vulnerable. What can we do to protect ourselves? Well, my next guest is going to talk about how we can do just that.
Globex Data Limited.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Ella. Here we go.
No worries.
All right.
It's Tuesday.
Yes. And I'm so happy to have with me right now my great friend, cybersecurity expert and president of Globex Data Limited, Alon Giai. What's going on, my man? How are you?
Hi, Paul. Nice seeing you again, and nice to have our listeners and viewers on board.
Always great to have you, my friend. Especially, you have given us so much advice and some good things to think about when it comes to cybersecurity and our privacy and data breaches. And I really wanted to have you on today, Alon, because I was reading an article the other day about email phishing, about what it's doing for ones who have personal accounts, but also businesses out there. And Alon, if you can let us know, for those out there who may not be kind of concerned or even know what phishing is all about when it comes to email, why don't you give us a crash course in it if you don't mind?
Sure. Well, business phishing and email phishing for businesses and consumers now is the number one thing in the hack world, because everybody uses email. I think 90% of us use email. 90% of the traffic for communication still is email to some form or another. Phishing is basically a way to trick, a hacker will trick a recipient into thinking that they're getting an email from a friendly sender, in a nutshell. And then they'll grab it, they'll click on something, and there may be a fake image of a bank or anything else. You know, I could send you something that says, we noticed that your password or something like we want to verify your identity. Or it would be, we have a great deal on tomato juice, click here to buy it. And then you would put your credit card, and it's all fake, essentially. It goes to a fake website. It captures all your data, and now they have your credit card information. Or they would have your banking information. It's very hard for the average person, it's very hard to read that an email has been phished. The way to do it, which nobody does, is you would verify the sender, you would verify the address. Sometimes you could even get an email with your own domain. Nothing in the world can prevent that. So you're going to get something at, let's say, paullane.com. It's a fake email, and anybody can send you an email that looks like on the address bar that is from at paullane.com. You would open it, you would click it, but in reality, there's ways to look at the code behind it and the path that it took, and you would see that it's basically fake. Or sometime it will appear in the address bar, it's from Paul Lane, but then when you read more carefully, it's not from Paul Lane, it's at some strange domain someplace. But that would take a lot of effort. Nobody does that. Very few people do verify. So the first barrier to entry is kind of common sense. Are you are you used to getting emails from your bank? Don't they normally do online, or they call you, or whatever they do? They don't just send emails randomly. Do you know the person that's sending you an email? But essentially, you can have all the tricks in the book. There's still over $30 billion a year that are taken from businesses, for example, through phishing. There's a new thing called BEC, Business Email Compromise. This is the number one activity now out there in the hack world. And essentially, it legitimate businesses that have legitimate domain hosted by most of the big open platform cloud companies are being intercepted and read, and essentially the information that's on the email is taken. A lot of time it has to do with financial information, medical information, and now with COVID-19 and and a lot of telehealth and communication remotely. We communicate with doctors, with clinics, with labs. All of that email information is being compromised because it's out there in the open world. And just to finish up, how is it compromised? Well, when you send an email from your company or your server and it leaves your server, it essentially becomes an open postcard. So anybody that's a little bit sharp can crack the code and read it and intercept it without the knowledge of the sender or the recipient. Now, in order to avoid that, you would need to have both parties having the same encryption, and it would have to be a closed loop system. And then nobody else can read it, of course. This is kind of what we do in our company with our Custodia email system.
Wow. So Alon, when we're looking at just what happens when it comes to these phishing emails, many of us probably have this in our inbox right now. They'll say you have a package tracking number. They'll say
That's
all
it.
these different things right there. And Alon, we're kind of curious sometimes. So how can we just what are some ways that we can protect ourselves? You gave us some things about make sure we know the sender, but sometimes people can be very, very, very creative. So,
Yes.
what can be like the test that we can run in our minds?
Well, short of having a very complex system, which most people don't, only big enterprises have these machines and software to reduce the phishing impact. Uh, there's not a huge amount you can do. I'm going to be promotional here a little bit just by explaining what we do, if you don't mind. So we have a platform in our digital safe private talk. It's called Custodia. The way we eliminate this whole thing is that we force people to use webmail, first of all, because it's more secure. We send an email using our Secure Send platform. Secure Send lets you send an email to anybody in the world, whether within the organization or somebody that doesn't use our platform. So any outsider, they receive an email with a notification, and then they have to click on a link. That link takes them to our Swiss encrypted environment in Switzerland, and then they can read the email and they can also reply the same way. This basically makes it that if you're communicating to an outsider, let's say you're a bank or you're communicating with your client or your bank supply from a company, sensitive supply, medical equipment, you want to make sure that that whole communication stays private and encrypted. The only way to do it is by taking these kind of extra measure and having that sort of technology. If you use a regular email system, even if on your end it is so-called encrypted, which nobody does, by the way. Most people don't encrypt because they believe that the software they buy, the big companies out there say they have encryption, but their encryption is very weak. And the business of the big cloud companies is to mine your data. So by default, because they're too big to control now, and because their business is to mine your data, security is not their prime directive. And this is where we come in. So unless you really put extra effort like that, your email will be compromised, even if you're ultra smart and you can sniff once in a while. Once in a blue moon, you're going to click on something at the end. And I don't know how many times I need to tell you I got a DHL notification. Well, I know it's fake, obviously. So, you talk about packages and things like that. So you have to be extremely diligent. You have to have like $1 million of equipment, which most people don't. We found a solution, and that would be the solution. And still, it would require people to be a little bit more careful. They have to use webmail, not the device. And then they can use secure send, and you can send up to 5 gig, and really guarantees that the whole transaction happens in our servers in Switzerland. So it doesn't even go over the internet back and forth.
Yeah, and Alon, one thing that's ringing through my mind is that what kind of havoc does phishing kind of wreak on businesses out there? If businesses are get hacked like this, what is the economical impact again on that, and what does it do to the business? I think some of the reports are just mind-boggling out there.
Well, I was reading a report yesterday by another big cybersecurity company. Essentially, if a business is compromised, within less than 12 months, they will go bankrupt. So,
Wow.
and the immediate cost is $100,000 or more, because you have loss of revenue, you have the cost of undoing the hack and unlocking your account. And while this is all happening, you're losing revenue, you're losing your reputation, and you're going to lose your clients. So basically, there's very strong chances. I think half of them go bankrupt within 12 months.
And
That's a
again,
very big cost.
it is. And Alon, explain that again of why do they go under? Is it because they the hack is causing them to have their bank accounts withdrawn, or what really caused the economic impact besides trying to track down the hack and try to undo the damage? But what else is that economic impact coming from?
Let me give you an idea. Let's say you sell services or goods. While you're locked down and you're hacked and you're trying to undo this, you're losing your customers. So there's a physical cost of trying to get back online, there's a reputational cost, and there's a loss of revenue cost. It's threefold at least. It doesn't have to be somebody took your bank account number. That also happens, by the way. So when you're hacked, they essentially have your entire database. So any email that you may have sent, they have it. They can crawl through it with machines really fast. They will reconstitute your bank info, your credit card. Your entire life is going to be reconstituted. And then they will take wherever they can. And also they will compromise your identity. We haven't talked about identity theft. The average cost of identity theft just to restore your identity, last I looked a year ago, was over $30,000. So as a business, when you lose your reputation, when you lose your customers, and you don't have the funding to rebuild your business, this is why these studies say they can go bankrupt. The world economy is losing $6 trillion a year due to hacking, and uh, business email compromise and phishing is a huge part of it, because we still communicate via email. I think 88% of our communications are via email.
Wow, wow. I
Yeah, so I recommend people to use, maybe you're going to have to spend an extra 10, $20 a
yeah,
month. I always say, what is your business worth? What is your data worth?
yeah,
Is your business worth an extra $200 a year? If
yeah,
it is, because the difference in the pricing, I look at what we offer compared to some other companies, the difference is maybe an extra 100 or 200 a year. It's not a lot, but we have been trained to have a lot of free services and cheap. And you know the old expression, there's no free lunch.
yeah,
So we have to get away from that mindset of, I'm going to get it for free.
yeah.
I have a terabyte of data. Well, you're not going to use a terabyte, and you don't even know how is that data stored, uh, secured. It's like a bulk market at this point. Data is very commoditized. And the reason why companies will give you a free terabyte of data and a free email is because they're looking at your data, they data mine, then they make a few $100 a month on you.
And we don't even get the benefits of it, but just a free
No, in
email,
fact,
right?
I have an idea. I think, I mean, if you really don't care, I want to have a revenue share. I want to get 10% of that. This is a good business model. I think, in fact, if I was one of those big companies, I would offer it, but it's extremely unethical because they would have to admit that now they're reselling the data blindly. They admit it in their terms of use. It's basically 20 pages of legal stuff that you don't even understand, and you have no choice but to accept before you use their service. You notice now in websites you have cookies. We don't use cookies, by the way. If you don't click yes on the cookie, you will not see the entire content. We have no choice. So if you use something for free, be aware that your privacy is gone and your intellectual property, which means whatever your business does, all the communication, all the information that you have is no longer yours. And on top of that can be compromised because it's not so much the big cloud companies that resell and make money from it. It's the other guys that come and hack those big companies or hack a third party developer. A lot of the solutions that we use are other businesses. They're not the big three names that we all know. There's plenty of other applications. And how are they developed? They're developed by people that just want to mine your data and do artificial intelligence. Security and privacy never comes in mind. It's maybe like one of the last checkbox just to have some kind of gimmicky encryption. That's
Yeah.
it.
Wow. And we can have another segment, Alon, about cookies on websites. Because
Yeah.
that's what you notice now. Like on my website, my personal website. I don't have that feature where they can click on for cookies and things like that. But I see every major website we go to now, cookies, 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 and
The
you.
whole excuse is we want to make your experience more pleasant. I
Yeah.
don't need to have a pleasant experience. I
Yeah.
just want to see content.
Yes, absolutely. And Alon, what kind of is mind-boggling to me is that you have these multi-million dollar, sometimes multi-billion dollar Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies getting hacked. And for the life of me, it's amazing how they let their guard down when it comes to data privacy and hacks. Why is that in your expertise and your opinion, Alon?
That's easily understandable. These companies are using the most, the biggest and the most reputable two or three cloud companies in the world, right? We don't need to mention them. Everybody knows them. And by default, it's kind of like we're in that environment. Oh, I'm just going to buy that service because you have two choices. That's it. If you're running a business and need to write a document or use a mathematical sheet or a presentation, how many software companies do you have? One. And then now you have everything with it. You have your domain, you have your email. The FBI came up with a study that these two companies that we won't name, any business that uses them to host their domain is being compromised and is costing tens of billions of dollars a year to the US economy. The model came from we're going to do something that is useful for businesses, and it's switched now to we're going to mine as much data as we can to make money. It's as simple as that. It cannot revert backward. So that's one thing. The other thing is businesses, we assume that they have like the best systems in the world, but they're human too. They probably subcontract half the time to another company, or they use another cloud platform and another server that hasn't been secured. I think a year ago, UPS or FedEx, one of them, which is like big company, they had a huge hack because their server was not even password protected.
Mm.
And you would think that these multi-billion companies have a system, but a lot of time, the bigger you are, the more chance you have of having a crack. And these hackers know that. So there's two issues. One is everybody is using the same company to run their business, which now can be it's so big that, and these companies are made to mine data and resell it, so they will be vulnerable. The other thing is we assume too much, like these guys subcontract to other companies, and sometimes somebody made a mistake and didn't put a password on a server. That's how they get hacked. And when they get hacked, the entire database is corrupt. Another thing, if I may say, how we store data, we've never had an incident, thank God, so far in 13, 14 years. But if we are hacked, we segregate each user's data independently. So maybe only one person may be compromised, and even the decryption keys are in a whole other database. So essentially, we're so tight, and we store data individually, and we protect each user with multiple disk encryption. And because we care more about securing it and than mining the data that's in there, we can't even see what's in their data. So that's a different business model. But if you're out there and when you offer free service or you want to propagate a service like wildfire, you have to compromise. And when you compromise on security, they make more money selling your data. A few $100s a month is what we're worth. I read sometime $2,000 a month is what a user generates for a big company. $2,000 a month.
Wow. And you know what, Alon, as we were speaking right now, I just got an alert that the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority has just been hacked with a phishing scam, possibly, and then Big Brother, one of the other companies out there, some of their alerts may be a phishing scam. So,
Yeah,
so Alon, this is like timely that we're
this is
talking about
explosive.
this.
This is now out of control, and it will be even more out of control. The It's like a pandemic, but in the hacking industry, so to speak. You start something and you can't control it anymore. And what you started was, we're going to mine data and make an excuse that is for a better experience for the user. But the reality is that we're selling that data to anybody out there that wants to pay for it in order to gain commercial gains, right? Um, one of the big companies, one of the big three cloud company, 84% of their revenue comes from advertising. And they have one of the biggest email out there. So that tells you. I didn't know about FINRA. I'll have to look at it. But that's when you trust blindly so much the big guys and you're not looking surgically at what's out there with smaller companies. The big guys are entrenched. They have they're worth trillions. They have billions of dollars in marketing. They can basically have their sales force sell their product. They have incentives like small guys like us can't. So what we do is we focus surgically on companies that are really serious or individual that say, listen, I may buy this software just to use my document, but I'm not going to use their email and communication aspect of it.
Yeah. Tough times, my friend, and we're so glad that we have experts like yourself when it comes to data, cybersecurity, to guide us during these uncertain times. And since we've been dealing with COVID-19, we see that these attacks are becoming more and more because we're using more and more data than we have before at our
That's
homes
it.
and everything. And thank you so much, Alon, for sharing that with us. So, how can people find out more information about some of the great news that you guys have? You guys keep up with a lot of great news when it comes to hacks and data breaches and things like that. How can one find out more information about some of this very informative information?
Well, we have a website, globexdatagroup.com, globexdatagroup.com. We're on Twitter at globexdata. We have a Facebook account as well. We're on LinkedIn, globexdata Ltd. We post on a regular basis during the week, usually what's happening out there. We also have news. We also became a public company now, so every time we have something new, we announce it. We're trading in the US under ticker SWISF, and in Canada under Swiss SWIS. So we're very active now because we're trying to explain to people, listen, this is what's happening, be careful, pay attention to that, and we're a little bit more active. So on our website, on our Twitter, we do have a Facebook account as well, Globex Data. So you're more than welcome to take a look. And you can also ask questions. If you go to our website, you can send us a message.
All right, Alon Guy. Great talking to you, my friend. Look forward to chatting with you next month, all right? Or when we get some more breaking cybersecurity news, we'll have you
I'm
back
sure
on to
we'll
talk
have
about
some
it.
in the next couple of weeks, Paul.
Yeah, something tells me that, my friend. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Once again, a huge shout out to my friend Alon Giai. I love talking to him, cybersecurity expert. He is the founder, president of Globex Data Limited. They have some really good cutting edge security programs out there that can really keep our data safe, whether if we are individual or we are even a small, medium, or large company out there. So definitely go check them out. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about how tech companies are coming to the rescue when it comes to COVID-19 and how we will be able to use some of these things even after COVID-19 to keep us safe. Be right back, right after these messages.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.